3, 2, 1.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Syardina Binti Muhammad Jaha and my matrix number is 066564. Right now I'm going to present a little bit about courts and the background of the federal court. Courts could be defined as a body of people presided over by a judge, judges or magistrate, and acting as a tribunal in civil and criminal cases. To note that the civil courts in Malaysia are divided into two, which are the superior courts and the subordinate courts. The superior courts comprises the federal court, court of appeal, and two high courts, namely the High Court of Malaya and the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak. The jurisdictions of these courts are briefly provided in the federal constitutions, and the elaboration is provided in the Courts of Judication Act 1964. While the subordinate courts comprises the magistrates court and the sessions courts. The subordinate courts are established under Section 3 of the Subordinate Courts Act 1948. The Sessions Court is on top of the list in the hierarchy of subordinate courts, while the magistrates courts are divided into two categories, which are first-class magistrates and second-class magistrates. The hierarchy of court begins with magistrates court, sessions court and high court, court of appeals and the federal court. Therefore, in order to complete this task, we decided to choose the federal court as our preferred court. Federal court refers to a court that rules on cases involving the constitution, federal laws and interstate crimes. Federal court is Malaysia's highest court within the legal jurisdiction hierarchy and the final appellate court. The court was founded following Malaya's independence in 1957 and was renamed in 1994, where prior to 1985, the Federal Council was Malaysia's final court for appeal. It was replaced the Supreme Court after it was abolished under Act A566, which came into force on January 1, 1985. The Supreme Court remained as the highest court of appeal until the Court of Appeal was established in 1994. Furthermore, Parliament had amended the Federal Constitution and approved a restructuring of Malaysia's court system in 1994. 16 amendments were added to the Constitution and went into effect on June 24, 1994. Significantly, the Court of Appeal was formed and the Supreme Court was renamed the Federal Court. Then, the court was formed in accordance with Article 121, Clause 2 of the Federal Constitution, where there shall be a court known as Mahkamah Persekutuan and shall have jurisdiction to determine appeals from decisions of Court of Appeal, High Court, a judge, original or consultative jurisdiction specified in Article 128 and 130 and other jurisdiction conferred by federal law. Furthermore, it is placed in the Palace of Justice in Putrajaya, and its decision binds all the courts below. Next, according to Article 122, Clause 1, the Federal Court shall consist of the Chief Justice of Malaysia, formerly called the Lord President, the President of the Court of Appeal, the judges of the High Court of Malaya and High Court of Sabah and Sarawak, and 11 other judges and additional judges appointed by Yang di-Pertua Agong on advice of Chief Justice among those who had held high judicial office. The Chief Justice is also the head of the judiciary in Malaysia. In fact, the sitting of the court is determined by the Chief Justice of Malaysia. Usually, the court, apart from sitting at the Palace of Justice in Putrajaya, goes in circuit to the major towns such as Penang, Ipoh, Kota Baru, Johor Bahru, Alor, Kuantan, Melaka, Kuching and Kota Kinabalu.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Nadiatul Husna binti Anwar Layani and my matric number is 065530. I would continue this presentation by explaining about the referral of Federal Court and the purpose of Federal Court. The Federal Court has the power in deciding a question that arises in another court concerning the interpretation or effect of any provision of Federal Constitution. When decided, the trial court must follow that decision, but if pending, trial court may proceed, as well as hearing appeals from decisions of other superior courts. the Federal Court also hears appeals from its own decision. As the country final court of appeal, the Federal Court hears only appeals. In addition to giving constitutional opinions, the Federal Court may also provide its opinions to YDPP. Next, I will continue with the purpose of Federal Court. One of the purpose of Federal Court is to determine appeals from the Court of Appeal and the High Court. Appellate Jurisdiction, Article 128, Sub 3 of Federal Constitution. Other than that, the Federal Court is used to determine any question on the validity of law made by Parliament or by the legislature of a state, and disputes on any question between states or between federation and any state. Exclusive original jurisdiction, Article 128, Sub 1 of Federal Constitution. Besides, the purpose of Federal Constitution is to determine any question that arises before any court as to the effect of any provision of Constitution. Referral jurisdiction, Article 128, Sub 2 of Federal Constitution. Last but not least, the purpose of Federal Court is to provide and pronounce its opinion on reference made by the King on any question as to the effect of any provision of the Constitution which has arisen or appears to His Majesty likely to arise. Advisory jurisdiction, Article 130 of Federal Constitution.
Hi, my name is Ilwatun Nasira binti Ismail Rusdi and my metric number is 066578. For my part, I will explain about the composition of Federal Court and their jurisdiction. Federal Court consists of Chief Judge of Federal Court, President of Court of Appeal, 2 Chief Judge of High Court, and 11 other judge or additional judge. Every proceeding in Federal Court is heard and disposed by 3 judges or any greater odd number. As we learn from the other part of the video, we know that the Federal Court is the highest and final court of appeal. So as the highest court, it has 4 main jurisdictions. The first one is original jurisdiction. This jurisdiction gives the power to the court to hear and decide the case in the first instance. In Article 128 Sub 1, Federal Court can determine whether the law passes by Parliament or by legislation is invalid and decide dispute on any question between states and federation. The second jurisdiction is appellate jurisdiction. The court can hear and determine appeal case coming from the lower court. In Article 128 Sub 3, there is an appellate jurisdiction of Federal Court in both criminal and civil matter from the Court of Appeal and High Court. For criminal appeal, Section 87 has stated that Federal Court can hear and determine any appeal from any decision of Court of Appeal, while in civil appeal, Court can determine appeal against the decision from the Court of Appeal concerning civil case and matter decided by the High Court. Federal Court also can order a new trial according to Section 96. The third one is the court can give an advisory opinion on any question referred to it by Yang di-Pertuan Agong concerning the effect of any provision of the Constitution because of the advisory jurisdiction. In Article 130 state that YDPA may refer to Federal Court for its opinion if there any question of the provision in the Federal Court. And the last jurisdiction that the Federal Court holds is referral. Referral is the power of the court to confirm and interpret the application of the law or effect of any provision of the Federal Court. Means the court have the power to decide a question that has arisen in another court concerning the interpretation of or effect of any provision of the Federal Court. When Federal Court have decided, the trial court must dispose of following that decision. But if Federal Court pending the decision, the trial court may stay proceeding.